So you just kind of alluded to that idea of spin-off talent of, in the quarter of 202 and there's success and wealth creation and talent development. Maybe talk a little bit about that pipeline in Philadelphia, but perhaps even more broadly, why maybe one of those first priorities for a kind of second-tier market is to have spin-offs.
Absolutely critical. I think it's absolutely critical. One of the things was funny. There was a company called Turntide, it was an anti-spam company we sold in 2004 very successfully, and it was so interesting to me. And I think this speaks to what's happening in the culture here. Here, everybody would say to me as I was looking for what my next company was going to be, well, why are you doing another company? And then I got to Silicon Valley and everyone would say, what's your next company? It was such a big shift. And one of the things that has really happened between then, 2004 and now, nobody asks that question anymore, right? In a wonderful way. There's an understanding that that it really is a family tree, essentially. And in Philadelphia in particular, there was a company called Infonautics, which we took public in '96. I was a product manager there, Josh Koppelman's first company. And when you look back at the lineage of the tech companies through the rest of the 90s and today, it is unbelievable how many of them tie back into Infonautics. We learned how to do it there. I now have 3 of my executives at other companies are now venture-backed CEOs. They had to do that, right? They had to learn how to do it, and so it's the talent and it's also the capital, right? Because the entrepreneurs who are successful then can plow that money into new companies like I did here or into other companies as angel investors. So it spreads the wealth, both capital and human capital, and creates the possibility for the next thing to happen. And that's got to happen in any market.
Yeah. So you just hit on spin-offs, you hit on talent and wealth creation, investment, a lot of pieces that go into the puzzle of whatever creates a technology community. If you are nominated tomorrow to be king of Tulsa, whatever other market, and you're charged with kind of developing an innovation community, what are some of those first steps that you're like, well, this is what we got to do to kind of create a community and perhaps more broadly point lessons to Philadelphia or others? Well, what has worked that you'd want to see elsewhere?
I mean, some of the things that work I think go way back. So, for example, here we have an organization called Ben Franklin Technology Partners who do seed investments. It's a state-backed entity that does seed investments in very early stage companies. When you look at the series of companies that have been successful in Philadelphia, it's unbelievable how many of them came out of Ben Franklin or worked at some point in a Ben Franklin company and then went on to do something. So I think that there is a place for public investment in startups. Not necessarily, I don't know that you can, Ben Franklin would say so, I don't know whether you can make the absolute economic argument, but I think you can absolutely say that is one of the really critical fire starters to get that going. I think another is actually sort of your arena, is you need somebody who's going to tell that story. I mean, one of the differences in the late 90s, I was running a company called Destiny Software. It was a very, very successful firm. And we tried to get good press coverage. We wanted, sort of the Philadelphia Inquirer was the gold standard, right? So we finally get an article, and we get a reporter who shall remain nameless, and went after us like this was some kind of Wall Street expose. We're just like this little company trying. So he was complaining about the fact we had on our client list people who were not currently clients but had been clients before, and it was like, well, go call they're still running the software, right? So you get in this whole argument. Like, that's not helping anybody. Who is that helping? Versus somebody like a Technique Philly, not that you wouldn't go after something if there was something that was, but that it's more about sharing and helping to build this momentum. It's a flywheel that has to get going. So I think that those are probably a couple of the key things to start. And then you need somebody to be successful. Well, that's, okay. We all need successful companies, right? But that's not a thing that even a king can ordain.
Yeah. But you'll work on that as king.
Yes, I'll work on that.
Yeah. But let me talk a little bit about why, and if it was inevitable that this kind of second era of technology in Philadelphia is happening at least more in the city than in elsewhere. Would you expect that in other markets? Is it a good thing, kind of?
So I think absolutely you would expect it in other markets. I think that there was a big part of it for us that was a cultural decision. Sustainability is a big, important value to us. And there's a youth vibe, right? I'm 50, but I'm still I think I'm still part somehow of that culture. I wish I was. Like to think I am part of that youth vibe, and that is very urban today, right? I think we're not in the greed, whatever the greed was, 80s or 90s, where they're dying to have their whatever car. You see in the young folks, sort of 20-somethings really want to have meaning. And I think that is actually, in a way, it's tied to being in a city, that we don't want to drive everywhere. You want to be able to walk out from your office and go down to the corner local place that isn't a chain and spend your dollars with them and sit down and have your drinks with your friends that are from from other companies, that there's a togetherness that I think is really attractive. And it fits in oddly with this whole sort of quality of life and being close to what you do and being able to bike to work or whatever. I don't think it's happenstance at all. One of the truths of suburbs, right, is they're spread around cities. So then where's the hub? Where are all the events, right? That was one of the big problems in the 90s. You have to, you're downtown and you're out in the West or in Bucks, right? Here now it's really clear. You're going to have the event downtown because that's kind of the heart of things. So I think that it culturally fits with what's going on with the times, and then it helps. It's a smaller crucible, and so it helps to get the heat up.
So to that very point, it feels like maybe one of those are the big lessons to any non-traditional market or kind of second wave markets of technology is that the value of density, that you want to be able to bump into someone. Talk a little bit about why that matters.
Density is just critical in every way. So for example, we had a meeting today, so we deliver food. We had a meeting today with some guys who locally have a business that uses bicycles to deliver laundry. Well, the people who are paying to have the bicycle guys deliver laundry, the reason for that is, first of all, it's green, right? Obviously, you're on bicycles. Also, the folks who are, and the reason that they started their business was that there were people coming off of welfare or other difficult circumstances who could be given a job as a bicycle courier. Well, that fits in 600 ways. We've been in business for a year and never met with those guys. This is our second day in Philadelphia meeting with those guys, right? So you're just constantly bumping up against others. It's just easier. I had a meeting last week at Ventureforth, which is a local incubator that's 6 blocks from here. Right? The truth is, would I have gone if I was still out in the suburbs and it was because it was rush hour-ish, an hour? Probably not, right? So I think that there's a lot that happens when people bump into each other, and you're going to bump into each other if you're all closer together.